G'day everyone, Rune here, and this is chapter 10 of my What If Ash Met Meowth First series. In the last chapter, we saw Misty and Ash earn their soul badges, with Misty gaining a greater appreciation for her Psyduck. We also watched Ash and his friends compete in the Pokemon race, exposing Dario for the selfish cheat he is. Then, Ash and Co helped the wild child Tommy reunite with his human parents, with Ash becoming an honorary brother of the herd. This is where the next chapter begins. After a whole lot of walking and getting lost, Ash and Co find themselves at the entrance to the Safari Zone. Yep, this is the episode The Legend of Mini Ryu, which was never released to the Western world. Now, I'm sure you're wondering why I'm attempting to include this episode when I didn't include Beauty and the Beach. Well, it's simple. Do you remember that herd of Tauros that Ash just suddenly has one episode which never gets explained? Well, this was the episode where he caught them, meaning this is a continuity episode. Beauty and the Beach was a standalone episode, so I could skip it without damaging the continuity. This episode, however, has an impact on later episodes, so skipping it would cause continuity errors. Hi, 4Kids! But on the positive side, this also allows me to do something cool. Back to the story. At the Safari Zone entrance, Ash and Co meet Kaiser, who takes them to his office where he gives them each a bunch of Safari balls and gives them a rundown of the Safari Zone's rules. While there, Misty spots a photo of a younger Kaiser and a Dratini, which she shows to the boys. While they look at it, Brock mentions rumors that he'd heard about a Dratini living in the Safari Zone, prompting Kaiser to snatch the photo away and snap that those rumors are false. Misty is about to argue when Ash places a hand on her shoulder and shakes his head. He can tell that this is a sensitive subject for the Warden, and bringing it up is likely just going to upset him. While Kaiser walks outside with his picture, Ash gives Professor Oak a call to see if he knows anything about the Safari Zone Dratini. Unsurprisingly, he does. 30 years ago, Kaiser had found a Dratini in the Safari Zone, prompting trainers from all over the world to flock there in hopes of catching it. While no one found the Dratini, they all caught many other Pokemon, severely damaging the Safari Zone in the process. As a result, only Safari Balls have been permitted use in the Safari Zone since. The only evidence that remains of the Dratini is the photo that Kaiser has. After their conversation with Oak, Ash expresses sadness that Kaiser making a new friend had backfired so horribly. Later, as they're about to enter the Safari Zone, they're accosted by Team Rocket, who proposes a challenge. Whoever catches the most Pokemon wins. If Ash and his friends win, Team Rocket will never bother them again. If Team Rocket wins, they get Meowth and Pikachu. In canon, this is the reason Ash had those 30 Tauros. Here, however, Ash refuses the challenge outright. He knows that Team Rocket would only cheat in an attempt to win, and even when they fail, they'd never stick to their word anyway. He even says this straight to their faces, causing Team Rocket to flinch back and mutter about how they keep being surprised at how smart Ash is. So instead of trying to win a stupid bet with people that would never honor it, Ash and Co would instead just be looking for cool Pokemon and a nice time. While they're walking around, they come across a lake where Ash decides to take a break for a little while, telling Misty and Brock to go on ahead. While sitting there with Meowth and Pikachu, just enjoying the scenery and the atmosphere, a baby Dratini pokes its head out of the water and approaches them. Amazed at the fact that he's seeing a Dratini so close, Ash pulls out some food from his bag and holds it out to the Dratini, who eats it right out of his hand. When the Dratini finishes the food, it nuzzles Ash's hand, forcing him to hold his breath lest he squee from how adorable the Pokemon is. The moment is ruined, however, when he spots Team Rocket on the other side of the lake. Telling Dratini to hide, he, along with Meowth and Pikachu, begin to sneak their way over to them. Meanwhile, Misty and Brock are found by Kaiser, who is strapped into some kind of tickling machine. After helping him get out of it, Kaiser tells them of Team Rocket's plan to capture Dratini. Recognizing the lake Kaiser described as the lake that Ash had stopped at, they all begin running back to the lake. Back over with Ash, he, Meowth and Pikachu are hiding in a bush next to the lake near Team Rocket, who are talking about their plan to zap all the Pokemon in the lake with an electric bomb. Thinking fast, Ash quickly sends out Magikarp to warn the Pokemon to get away. With that done, he emerges from the bush and tells Pikachu to hit Team Rocket with a Thunderbolt. The attack lands, causing James to drop the bomb, which Meowth quickly catches and brings to Ash. Ash then brings out Fearow and Charmander. Taking the bomb in its talons, Fearow flies high into the air before tossing the bomb even higher, where Charmander hits it with a flamethrower, causing it to explode. The explosion is spotted by Misty, Brock and Kaiser, who realize that Ash must be fighting Team Rocket and increase their pace. With the bomb no longer a threat, Ash has Pikachu and Meowth blast Team Rocket away with a combined Thunderbolt and Dark Pulse. Just as Team Rocket is flying over the horizon, Misty, Brock and Kaiser arrive at the lake. With the danger now over, Ash returns his Pokemon and is soon approached by the baby Dratini, along with her Dragonair mother. While Dratini goes up to Ash, the Dragonair goes up to Kaiser, who realizes that this is the Dratini that he'd met all those years ago. After a heartwarming reunion, Ash and his friends are about to leave when Ash is suddenly stopped in his tracks by Dratini grabbing his shirt. Looking back at Dratini over his shoulder, Ash asks her what's wrong. After hearing Dratini, Meowth starts to snicker. "Seems she ain't letting you leave without her." Eyes widening in surprise, Ash turns to Dragonair, who nods at him in consent. Kneeling down, Ash pulls out one of his unused Safari Balls and taps it to Dratini's head. The red light stops blinking almost before it even starts. With that, Ash adds another member to his team. After a lot more walking, Ash and Co finally find themselves back in town, where they find a bridge to Sunnytown. After finding out about the bike part of the bridge, Ash suggests that Misty go on ahead of them and the boys can catch up. Misty turns down the offer instantly. They've come so far, it doesn't feel right for her to go on ahead and leave them behind. When they go to the Pokemon Center to regroup and think of a plan, Nurse Joy approaches them about taking some medicine to Sunnytown. Ash suggests that Misty can deliver the medicine and come back, but Joy offers to let Ash and Brock borrow some of the center's bikes. On the bridge, they are accosted by the bike gang, like in canon, but this time, rather than being scared of them, the team are mostly annoyed. Ash tells the gang that they don't have time to deal with them and that they're in a hurry. When Tyra says that they're not getting through them without a Pokemon battle, Ash turns to Meowth with a sigh. It's going to take longer to argue with them than it is to just battle them, isn't it? Yep. With that, Ash turns to Misty and asks how she feels about teaming up for a double battle. While Misty agrees, Tyra and Copper express surprise that they know what a double battle is. This surprise is then mirrored by Ash and Misty. Before their conversation can continue, Brock tries to ask Tyra out, prompting Ash to grab his ear while telling him to read the room. He then turns to Tyra. Sorry about Brock, his IQ drops down to 40 every time he sees a girl he thinks is pretty. After that, Ash and Misty face off against Tyra and Copper. While Tyra sends out her Cloyster and Copper sends out his Golem, Ash and Misty send out Gloom and Psyduck. Yes, you heard me right, Misty intentionally sent out Psyduck. This is because, unlike her canon counterpart, Misty has actually been trying to train Psyduck and his psychic attacks. As a result, Psyduck actually is able to use Confusion at will now, and has replaced some of his old attacks with new ones. Working together, Ash and Misty are easily able to win against Tyra and Copper. Just as Ash is about to ask if they can leave now, Jessie and James show up on their unicycles with a very embarrassed looking Porygon. When the team find out about Jessie and James's past, Ash asks if this is supposed to make them feel intimidated. Because it's not working. From there, the events play out as in canon, since I can't think of anything that would really change. I also can't think of any major changes for the Ditto Mansion episode, however I can give you a few little amusing interactions. When Ash and Co encounter the Ditto, Meowth instantly recognizes it as a Ditto. When Ash expresses confusion due to not remembering a Ditto card in his National Dex collection, Meowth explains that Ash's Ditto card had gotten ruined 2 years ago, when he left it in his pocket and it got put through the wash. At the end, Ash also isn't confused as to which Pikachu is his, stating that sometimes you just know. Sometime after the events of the Ditto Mansion, Ash and his friends are taking his rest in a forest near a mountain. While Misty, Brock and Meowth relax under a tree, Ash is up in said tree, helping Pikachu pick berries. After a few minutes, he drops down with a bunch of them and gives some to Misty, Brock and Meowth. As he's about to offer some to Pikachu, he notices that he seems distracted. He's about to ask what's up when Pikachu runs into the forest. Taking off after him, the team soon come across a colony of wild Pikachu and Pichu, which Pikachu attempts to socialize with. The first to approach is a Pichu. unlike in canon, here Ash doesn't try to approach the colony, realizing that if the Pikachu are cautious of an unfamiliar Pikachu, then they're really not gonna be okay with a human around. A little later, while the team are trying to figure out which way they need to go for the next part of their journey, the little Pichu from before falls into the river right near them. Acting fast, they take off after the Pichu. Frantically trying to think of a way to save Pikachu, Ash tells Misty to send out her Magikarp while sending out his own. Together, the Magikarp attempt to get Pichu to the shore. However, with them being unable to dive and with Pichu's added weight, the current is too strong for them to move. However, it does allow them to prevent Pichu from going any further down the river and keep it above water. Now with some time to think, Brock is able to think of a way to help the Magikarp get Pichu to the shore. Sending out Bulbasaur, Brock tells it to use Vine Whip to help pull Pichu to safety. With the Magikarp pushing and Bulbasaur and the gang pulling, they are able to get Pichu to safety. Once Pichu is safe on land, the team is immediately surrounded by the colony. With Meowth acting as translator, they are able to understand that the colony is welcoming them into their community for their bravery in saving their littlest member. Later that night, Ash notices how happy Pikachu is with the colony and begins to wonder if it would be best for Pikachu to stay in the forest. This time, without Brock needing to be a big-mouthed idiot. Seriously, Brock, were you trying to make Ash feel insecure? During dinner, Meowth is able to pick up on Ash's mood and later approaches him, asking what's wrong. Smiling, Ash notes that he's never been able to hide anything from Meowth before telling him what's been on his mind. Shaking his head, Meowth tells Ash that he can't decide what's best for Pikachu without asking for Pikachu's thoughts on the matter. And besides, wasn't Ash the one that said years ago that they were a family? It is here where we have a flashback to when Ash was still very young and Meowth hadn't been living with the Ketchums long. This flashback is of when Gary first found out that Meowth could talk and, in his state of shock, had called Meowth a freak. Infuriated at Gary, Ash leaps in to defend Meowth, even getting into a bit of a fist fight. Later, when Meowth and a bruised Ash are walking home, Meowth asks Ash why he had defended him. Ash's response is complete confusion, not understanding the question as it seems completely obvious to him. Meowth was his family, and family always protect each other. Before they can continue their conversation, they're distracted by the distressed cries of the Pika colony. Rushing over to the clearing, they see the entire colony trapped in a net. Just as Ash is about to have Meowth break the net with a Fury Swipe, Team Rocket reveal themselves and trap the team in a second net. Meowth quickly cuts the rope with Fury Swipe, but Team Rocket is already lifting off. However, Ash and Brock act fast. While Ash sends out Furo to cut the net with an aerial ace, Brock sends out Onix to grab the new opening in its mouth. Not only does this stop Team Rocket from going any higher, it also allows the Pikachu and Pichu to climb down Onix's back to safety. With the Pika colony now safe, Ash has Meowth and Pikachu send Team Rocket flying with their combined Dark Pulse Thunderbolt combo, which I'm going to be calling Dark Thunder from now on. When the Pika colony begins cheering, Meowth translates saying that they're cheering for all of them. After a few moments, Pikachu comes up to Ash and, remembering Meowth's words, Ash asks Pikachu if it would prefer to stay in the forest with the colony. Pikachu shakes his head. Then, with Meowth translating for Brock and Misty, and by extension the audience, Pikachu says that he can't stay here. While the forest is beautiful and he's made many friends, he can't stay. He would miss his family too much. Smiling with tears in his eyes, Ash pulls Pikachu in for a hug, in which they are soon joined by first Meowth and then the rest of Ash's Pokemon, with Meowth telling them, "Make some room! We want in on this action too!" And that, everyone, is where I'm going to leave the story for now. Join me next time as Ash and Co meet an interesting group of brothers and have to deal with one annoying roadblock. I'm Rune. See you next chapter.